do you regret making that video and posting it?
No.
What are some of the things that you've done wrong in those situations that you could own up to that would help reconciliation happen with your brothers? If you hopped on a phone call with your brothers today, what would it take from them for reconciliation to happen?
It would need to start with you caring means a lot to me, and I hope it means a lot to them to be bringing this up. So.
Yeah. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Watch Well podcast. My name is Parker, and as always, this is a behind-the-curtain interview where we review social media content, where we talk to interesting people, and essentially do whatever I want because it's my podcast, and it's fun to do. So, we've got a spicy one for you today, a special episode, a special guest. Before we get into it and before I introduce our guest today, I want to remind you guys that we are selling merch now. If you go to vindicatedproductions.com, we've got Watch Well branded merch. We've got blankets back there so you can cuddle up with your favorite person, watch a movie. And, we've got hats and hoodies. We've got our branded combating the passive consumption of entertainment t-shirt. We call it the Brainwash tee. It's pretty cool looking. I will throw something up here somewhere to show you guys what that looks like. Super cool stuff. Again, we have movie reviews coming back. We had conferences that we were at. We had Fight, Laugh, Feast last year that I'm still trying to get all that content out. We had like 15 to 25 episodes from just Fight, Laugh, Feast alone, interviewing people. And we had the Dangerous Friends conference put on back in March from Clear Truth. And I still have one more episode to get through, and it's only me here. So you can only edit so much. And but I promise, we are bringing movie reviews back. We've got a lot of them coming. I know that there's been a few people reaching out in actually other people's, of some of my friends' chat rooms asking where the movie reviews are. So we are bringing them back. But without further ado, I'm going to bring in our guest here. We have Lucas Botkins. Lucas, man, how's it going?
It's going great. It's going better than anyone can realize.
Yeah. You know, I hesitate to ask. You know, you dropped a video, and we'll get through all that. Throughout the podcast, we'll unpack that. But it's one of those things where it's like, do I ask how he's doing? Do I not ask how he's doing? There's like positive and negatives. So, but how are you doing in a positive way? How about we start there?
So for me, I feel very free. I feel a lot of weight removed from my shoulders for a lot of various reasons. And I've had a lot of ambition that, to do lots of different things the last few years, especially, that now I can go out and do. And so that's all in process, and I can now focus on that with all of my brain power, which is super fun, because what a lot of people don't realize about business or entrepreneur stuff is your brain gets piecemealed to every single thing that's happening. And if you have large business issues, a lot of your brain goes to that. So then very little brain is left over for creativity, fun, relationships. And so now that a lot of that burden is now gone, my brain can go back to 100% of its potential at building a new business or spending time with friends and actually enjoying life. So I'm looking forward to, even in the next month or two, regaining more of my brain, because I still have to process a few things. But in a couple months, my brain should be back to 100%, and I can get back after it. So that is exciting. I'm very happy and excited for that.
So real quick, now I'm thinking, how long have you been on social media?
So I started on Instagram back in 2014. I think I technically had an account in 2013 when I started the company. It didn't really blow up for a few years. It slowly grew. I became much more infamous, let's say, in like 2018. YouTube started to pick up steam. Social media started to pick up steam. I think I had around 100,000 followers in 2019, and then it's just blown up from there. So I've been dealing.
You said Instagram in 2014?
So I started Instagram in 2014, but it didn't get big until like 2017, 2018.
Years.
Yep.
Okay,
So it's
roughly.
very
Okay.
small, thousand, couple thousand, 10,000, and then 100,000 followers. That's when things really get crazy when you hit, the six figures for people. I think that was about 2018 era, 2019, and that's when I had a lot of things I needed to learn very quickly when that
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. What was
So
the pivot? What was the like the moment that it like kind of shifted where the algorithm started helping you? Because I mean, we all hear about YouTube and how it has, attacked the gun industry,
mhm.
with people like Demolition Ranch and, all the people. Um, where was that
Yes.
moment?
So the so I wasn't affected by the algorithm because I've been around for a bit until way later. It wasn't until about 2021. In 2020, you could say that's when stuff started to slow down. But we had picked up so much steam prior that there was a lot of talk going on about me and the company. Our videos were getting a lot of views, and so when the shadow banning, when the censorship occurred in 2020, 2021. We felt it, but we had already had such a large platform, and I was controversial enough as a public figure that there was still a lot of talk going on. There was a lot of activity even during that time period to now. Um, but the shift for me was not so much learning that, because that was a little bit different. It was more going from I'm just a homeschooled, boy who has a holster company to, oh, now there's tens of thousands of people who look up to me for advice on everything from what gun to buy to should I get in or out of the relationship I'm in. Which was
Yeah.
funny because I would get those questions and I wasn't married yet. So, but there were people that looked up to me and they wanted to ask all those. They had a parasocial relationship with me, and
Hmm.
so that was a lot for me to learn because when you're a young guy and you have all of that attention dumped on you, I've seen it destroy a lot of people. Um, I'm wired in a very weird way where when I see someone fail, um, I look at what they do and I go, well, I'm going to reverse engineer what they did and do the opposite.
Hmm.
I learn a lot more from failure or other people's failure than success. Success is kind of boring actually in some ways, but like failure is interesting. And so I saw a lot of big content creators make mistakes early on that was beneficial to me because I saw what they did and went, well, I don't want to do that. I need to really guard myself. I need to be very careful with this thing that has now been given to me and not squander it. So, and that's everything
Hmm.
from I can't use dating apps, or I need to be really careful if I use them. I can't do these things. I can't go to these types of places. So I had a lot of rules for myself to stay on the straight and narrow as a content creator, as a public figure, and that was the really interesting thing was just learning that dynamic and how to handle fame is really what it came
Yeah.
down to.
So how old were you when that switched and you started getting that attention?
So I was 20 when I started in 2013. Oh boy, math,
What,
homeschool math.
24,
So I
25?
was like 24, 25. Yeah, so pretty young.
Okay.
Not like a Disney kid or anything, but like
Right. But
pretty.
still, I
And
mean,
oh yeah,
you want to be faithful to those questions, I
yep.
mean, and you may not have all of the experience yet, you don't have kids, you weren't married yet, and
Hmm.
I mean, that's a lot of weight to have someone that lives in New Zealand or wherever,
Yeah.
you try to answer a question like that and then they take that and run with it and you
Well,
feel like that's
and
on you. I mean,
the
and then multiply that by what? A million?
thousands,
Thousands?
thousands of messages. The craziest ones were the people that wanted to commit suicide.
Mm,
I had a handful of those, and when you open the direct message on Instagram, is they started direct messages, and I think it was like 2015, 2014. So when I started, I don't think there were direct messages. You could only post for 15 seconds, but I had a few that were like, and I didn't know what to do. Like
yeah,
I'm like
yeah.
not the most empathetic dude, but I would look at it and be like, oh, this guy's like thinking about killing himself, and I didn't feel like I could just leave the DM because
Hmm.
then I felt not responsible, but like I'm not doing the right thing. So
Yeah.
I would stay in there and try to be like, uh, what about this? And try to like
Don't do
talk him
that.
off the ledge. And I did it. I did that like 2 or 3 times. And that was, I think that was helpful for me too. Cause then I really saw that like, hey, I actually can have an impact on someone's life, like potentially life or death. I need to be very careful with this. And I
Oh,
haven't
of
had
course.
any for a little bit, suicide stuff, but I had a couple early on, and that was rough. Just
Hmm.
looking at that message and talking to the person. And I hope they all got help that they needed, but it was
Yeah,
years
for
ago.
sure. Did you have any um like a local pastor, local church community that you kind of surrounded yourself with to help you with any of that as it took off? Because what I've learned is if you're not in content creation, and by all means, like I know my place. I have a small podcast, still growing, trying to get it up off the ground, and it takes a long time and you never know when it's going to pop off. Um, so by degree, nowhere near what you've built. But in some ways, people don't really understand what it takes to do the
Oh yeah.
videos and get no reward. Do the videos, get no reward, and then do that 100 more times. So it's really, really good to have. We actually have a signal chat with me and some of my other buddies that are content creators, and most of them are pastors actually.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, yeah, and we have this little group that we are open and raw about analytics. We're open and raw about what about this, and did you think about handling something this way? Maybe we shouldn't post that. Did you have any of that back then?
So I didn't. And that's where I really do think God being alongside me, like it's miraculous that I didn't crash and burn years ago. To be frank, I've I don't want to say I used to be a very proud person because that's a very proud thing to say,
Yeah.
pretending like I'm not now. But I was a much more proud person, unempathetic person years before. I mean, I was young. I mean, that's just how it is, right? And I
Mhm.
wasn't married. And as soon as I got married, I learned a lot of things. But um, I didn't have people to lean on. And I think what was happening was I was leaning on, I wasn't even leaning on God a whole lot at the time. Definitely some, but I leaned a lot on other people's failure to keep me like on that straight and narrow, or what I believe at the time was the straight and narrow. I didn't
Mhm.
have people of a similar background that I could talk to. I didn't have people in my church who were at a similar situation, and there were some content creators out there I could talk to, but their lives were not lives I wanted to emulate. So I didn't really
Mhm.
go to them for like life advice because I saw what they were doing and I was like, well, I don't really want what they have or what they're doing, and
That
they're
makes
making
sense.
decisions with their marriage or with like I'm not going to do that. Like if there's like certain analytical assistance or expertise, I definitely got some feedback on that. But as far as like the heart stuff, the character stuff, um, God's the one who carried me through that time because I did not have a support structure of people in a similar background. And it's weird like going and getting like therapy as a famous person. Like I've talked to some therapists about this. Is it is a very small industry, it's very niche, and there's not a lot of people who understand like what that job actually entails. What I tell people is it is a full-time job practically to stay on the straight and narrow path when you have this much attention on you. It's unprecedented, and never in the history of the world has a person been able to be under so much scrutiny 24/7, open a device up and immediately get feedback from people, whether good or bad. Like back
Mhm.
in the day, it was like you had to open like an almanac or a newspaper or hear the town crier or something. Like now you are bombarded with it all day, all the time, and most people can't handle it. And that's why
Mhm.
celebrities crash and burn. That's why some celebrities commit suicide. And it's sad. But one of the things I've actually thought about is maybe in like 10 years, actually becoming like a, man, I hate to use this word, but like an influencer therapist for like other people. Like, hey, you're dealing with this like all this attention, you're dealing with all this stuff. Here's some things to think about, as you go through this and the responsibility you have. Because I didn't have that. Most of the people I know don't have that. And it's a very unique position to be in. Like it's not a fun one. Like, well, no matter
Yeah,
what
I mean
people
it
think
gets
about being
lonely.
famous, it's not a fun one to have that on you. So,
Yeah, I mean there's trade-offs, right?
oh yeah.
um, with the benefit of having a platform. Um, everybody. I mean, we're seeking platforms. It's just why are you seeking the platform? It's a
Hmm.
tool at the end of the day, right? No differently than anything else. Um, I think a lot of that can be solved just by, referring someone to their local pastor.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And getting their feedback, biblical counseling and stuff like that. Cool. Well, we're off to a good start here. Let's do some rapid fire fun stuff. How about that?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
So I was telling you before we went, we started recording. We're a movie podcast. Okay. So before I ask you what your favorite movie is, we got to know, are you a popcorn or candy guy? We'll do some rapid fire stuff. Popcorn or candy? Hey guys, real quick, I wanted to update you on something. So we've got our new merch site up and running. Finally, it's been a labor of love. We've got designs back there for hats, hoodies, t-shirts, all kinds of stuff. We've got a blanket back there so that you can grab the person you most enjoy watching films with. You can cuddle up under the Watchwell blanket. You can watch well together with some popcorn. Head on over to vindicatedproductions.com. Check out the new Watchwell site. Buy some merch. Support the podcast so that we can keep bringing you guys really, really good content to ultimately combat the passive consumption of entertainment and bring a more complete worldview to everybody that enjoys movies. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't like candy. I like chocolate.
Not a candy guy.
Popcorn's pretty good.
Popcorn?
Yeah, I like it. It's all right. If I get a food in the theater, it's probably popcorn. If I get a food.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What drink are you going with?
I've been doing a lot of Coke lately.
Coke?
People could definitely clip that and make it sound like something else, but I've been drinking Coke for like dinner and stuff, to go with a steak or something, to wash down the savory.
I'm probably going to clip that, by the way.
Yeah, I do a lot of Coke. Yeah,
I do a lot of Isaac Botkin. Lucas Botkin does a lot of Coke.
So I know I should. The funny thing is, I know I shouldn't because it's like really sugary and not good for you. But like I do it like a few times a week. It's fun.
Yeah, but you burn it off at the range, right?
Well, now it's this. I don't have a range, but I'm in the gym all the time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
I'm sure you'll find a range. You'll find.
I'm shooting tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. Front row, middle, or back at the theater?
I like the middle.
The middle?
Yeah, the front. What kind of sociopath wants to sit in the front and be like this the whole time? Like.
Right.
I understand wheelchairs, but like.
Well, yeah, but that's why you gotta go at the right time so that you can throw your feet up on those bars and you can lounge back. You know what I'm saying? See, movie expert right here.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Okay, so streaming or theater?
So the last time I went to the theater was to see Dune, the first one.
Okay.
That was cool. Like to see it in theater, that was fun. Honestly, I prefer staying at home. We got all of our animals and we've got a good TV with surround sound. It's not like a theater setup, but like I kind of like not going out. Also, the other reason is when I watch movies, I'm on my phone a lot. My wife is too. Like we're working. You're not really supposed to do that in a movie theater, so you just have to sit there and only do that. And I have a hard time with that. I fidget too much. So, out of kindness to other people, I don't go to the theater.
Oh, you're such a saint. I do that. I actually have my phone out when I'm at the movie theater because I'm taking notes. Because if I'm at the theater, I'm usually doing a podcast episode on it. Yeah. Okay, so this next question I actually came up with specifically for you. And if your brother ever comes back on, I'm going to ask him too. But what is your movie snack concealed carry?
Oh,
so
shoot.
If you're sneaking something into the theater, because we all know movie people do that. I've
you know what's funny? I've
snuck McDonald's into a movie theater before.
So I've never smuggled food in. I also usually don't buy food because it's expensive when I go.
Yeah.
I actually I could see myself taking a burger, like an actual food. Yeah, like a McDonald's because it's in the nice wrapper and everything.
Yeah.
I actually would probably, if I was premeditatively like I'm gonna take a food in there, it's gonna be some sort of handheld like device. I mean handheld food. But I've never done it, so maybe I need to go do that.
Yeah, we've done McDonald's and we've done Taco Bell. We've gotten that.
Taco Bell. What would you get? I feel like it'd be messy with all the lettuce and the
Oh, you
stuff.
just
Like,
get a burrito.
oh,
You just
okay,
get a
yeah, that'd
burrito.
be that'd be
One of the
clean.
easy burritos.
Yeah.
Um, my ultimate I guess movie shenanigans would be Chipotle. That would be the
Oh
day.
wow.
We got to
That
sneak
thing, that
Chipotle
thing, that
in.
thing thick. That thing very
Yeah.
full of stuff too.
Yep. That's right. That's right. All right. So great job. You passed.
Oh, cool.
So what is your favorite movie, man?
So I
And
don't
why?
have so I don't have a favorite movie, but there is a movie that it's seasonal.
Fair
Depending on
enough.
how I feel and what's going on. Um, we don't have to get into it. There's a movie that has been very impactful for me the last 2 years, and that's Warrior from
Great
2011
movie.
with Tom Hardy and can't remember the other guy's
Joel
name.
Edgerton.
Um, Story about brothers fighting and some father figure stuff too. We watched it the other night, me and my wife, just with everything going on. And what's funny is I was not an emotional person before I got married. Like I could watch anything, not cry, not shed a tear.
Mm-hmm.
After I got married, I started becoming a lot more like I could actually cry about stuff. Probably
Mm-hmm.
because now I have something I care about, and you know, I have something to live for. And but that movie, I can't watch that movie without just
Falling apart.
sobbing,
Yeah.
especially like at the end. So we watched that for the first time the other
Just
night with
that,
her,
Tommy.
and yeah,
Just
and
that.
she cried for like 20-30 minutes after.
It's a great movie. We actually already did a review on that movie. So if you guys want to see that movie, our review of Warrior, go check it out. We actually had Jacob Dixon on. Jacob is a pretty good friend of ours and the channel, and you can go check that out. It's about an hour long, but
Is
it's
that one of
really
the
good.
actors?
No. Jacob Dixon is one of my friends that I met just through social media, and we had
Oh,
him
cool.
on because it was his favorite movie
Nice.
earlier on in
Yeah.
the days of the channel. But
Nice.
it's a phenomenal movie. There's so many, there's so many things to take away from that movie
Oh yeah.
that can only exist in a Christian worldview that makes coherent sense. So really good. I would recommend. I'll actually probably put a tag up on the video so people can go check that out. And because you like it so much, you can go watch it and DM me and let me know what you think.
Oh,
In your vast amounts of spare time.
yeah, it's a lot of that right now.
In your vast amounts of spare
Yeah.
time. Cool. So you're turning over a new chapter. What's new, man? What are
Yes.
you doing next?
Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, I started a company in 2013 in the defense sector, made holsters, transitioned to other products. A few weeks ago, I made the very difficult decision to step away. So not a board member, an employee, and I won't be an owner here in about a month and a half with an equity buyout and all that. So I'm on to new things, and that's exciting for a lot of reasons. There are some businesses that I've wanted to start the last few years that I was unable to due to my how much time I was having to put into the other business. And so one of the first ones is a men's apparel company. And when I say that, I don't mean a t-shirt company because like everyone can have a t-shirt company and that's fine. But actually making new designs of clothing, different designs, rain jackets, technical apparel, slim pants, not skinny. Some really cool stuff, including some very specific clothing for concealed carry, but that'll go to a different brand. And one of the reasons I really wanted to do a clothing company is it is a mainstream business that you can market to a lot more people and reach a lot more people with certain kinds of messaging than a defense company. A company that does gun stuff is automatically kind of you're just not going to reach certain kinds of people and you're going to be heavily censored. But a mainstream clothing brand for men, you can get that out to potentially 150 million Americans if it's an American-based business because there's not like guns associated with it. So I have a lot of hope that that brand, as we develop the values and we develop the messaging and the brand for that, it can reach tens of millions of people and also keep Americans employed. It's going to be American manufacturing. So there's a bunch of factories here in the States that I want to help keep running by giving them those POs for the garments. and hopefully we can reach a whole lot more people. But then I'm also starting another defense company because I am very well versed in this industry. I know a lot of people. I also shot a lot of bullets. I've shot over 500,000 rounds and have damaged parts of my body from it. And so going to keep doing some of that because it is some expertise that I have. But the clothing company, I think, is in some ways more exciting just because of the potential it has for reach and how big it can get. So doing both of those at once, because instead of starting one company, why not do two, at the same time? And we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, man, that's a lot. Do you have teams for both of those already, or are you running one team that's doing both with you?
So we've got, so I have a core team right now, so people that came over with me. A couple of them are very heavy on the defense business doing R&D. One of the guys is the marketing director from TREX, so he's helping. This morning we were setting up a customer service system because I'm getting hundreds of emails a day, and that's going to my personal inbox, and we need to start sorting that so we can all look at it and see what's going on. So he was standing that up with me this morning. So he's helping with the branding for both. And he's going to jump between both brands. And then we'll start hiring people to each brand depending on expertise. But we already have contractors on the outside, pattern makers, people in the fashion industry who are have their own companies that are contracting to us for that expertise. So the main thing we have to bring to the table is product development, market analysis, and brand and marketing, which is something that we've all done quite a lot of, and that's what I'm good at. Then we'll just give POs to the factories for, thousands of pants, thousands of shirts, whatever it is. Receive the goods, ship the goods ourselves. Our consultants really want us to 3PL it. I kind of want to ship it ourselves because I like control. I don't really want to give that to someone else. We'll see. They can talk me into it probably. So we have a core team. The goal is to actually kind of keep it smaller, a smaller, tight-knit team of just extremely highly professional people. And so each business probably only needs, over the next couple of years, like 10 people a piece to handle customer service, shipping, product development, and logistics. We don't need a huge company with a whole lot of overhead and a lot of admin. I'm actually really trying to avoid admin as much as possible, just bloat of corporate, and keep it to product development and marketing because that's the stuff that people care about. That's the stuff customers care about, and that's what I care about.
Yeah, a lot of that kind of makes sense. And all of this is in your video that you posted. When did you post that video?
Saturday. So a few days ago.
2 days ago, something like that. Yeah. So if you guys want more of the specifics of that video or back content, you guys can go watch Lucas's video on that. Another thing you mentioned in that video was you wanted to get away from correct my wording if I get this wrong, but it sounded like you wanted to stop focusing on the civilian first, focused on the military job specialty mission. How did you word it, Lucas?
So
and then you wanted to make it available for the civilian.
Yeah, so the idea is when you design product, it's essential that you design for the job or the mission in mind. So, for example, I had an email from a guy this morning saying, hey, we need custom firefighter, wildland firefighting equipment. So very specific job. They need lighter weight, fire-resistant clothing that's probably breathable if it can be, but probably not, so that they can go into the woods hiking while also fighting fire and not die. So like a lot of very specific parameters for that product. And if I were to design a product for them, obviously that product, you and I don't need that product. Right. Unless we want to make a fashion statement in New York or something and look weird, like we don't need that product. Those guys need that product though. And so one of the mistakes, it wasn't really a mistake, but one of the ways I designed equipment back at TREX was I thought about what civilians need. They need simplicity. They need this thing here. They don't need, zippers for these certain accessories. And so I would design for them, but wasn't really designing for a job in mind. It was still designed for defense, shooting, whatever it was. And I'm actually stepping back and going, no, I need to be more thorough in my product development, focus on a job, which might be, wearing body armor, carrying a bunch of equipment, and then, the type of person who's doing that, design for that, and still make it available for civilians. And ultimately, civilians will end up getting a better product. Because at the end of the day, we all have heard the word mil-spec, and usually mil-spec means lowest common, like the lowest bidder, and it's crap. Well, the reality is there's a lot of that happens, but there's also a lot of really good equipment that gets designed for the job in the military, and civilians end up buying that because they trust that it was designed for that job. So I'm just skipping straight to there. Designed for the job, civilians can trust it even more then, and they'll have a better product. So it can sound, depending on how you say it, it can sound like, oh, Lucas doesn't care about civilians. He's just going after the military-industrial complex.
No,
and it's
no,
like,
I wasn't.
No, I'm
yeah,
going,
no.
no. I know you are, but some people out there. But it's like, no. I'm focusing on the job, which could be a mill guy. It could be a cop. It could be a private military contractor. It could be, and it just so happens civilians also can do that job or should consider doing that job in the future if the need arises, and ultimately get better equipment. So my design philosophy has changed quite a bit, and will be changing going into this next defense company.
When you said that, it kind of resonated with me because I have, and I'm not going to name the brands. I'm sure you could probably guess them, but there's some brands that I love to buy from, but some of their products are off limits. Like you can't buy them as a civilian, and it's super infuriating because I think if the government has access to something, I should have access to it. Or what's the point?
No,
so I really appreciated it when you brought that up. Made that point in the video.
So this is an interesting one. So there is a product I'm working on for an organization, and it's a target system. And this is where nuance comes in, right? Because there is a time and a place where you don't sell stuff to the public because it's not smart. So I'll give it as an example for people to think about. So an organization approached me for a target system that has not been done, and I'm working on it. There's a lot of challenges to it that are very complex, and there's a reason no one's done it. But I want to make it happen because I love stuff like this. One of the requests was children targets, shoot or no shoot. And, I told them like, yep, we can do that. Like that's very gritty. It's very dark. But it's real. It's a real scenario. If you hit a target and they've got kids either as non-combatants or they've given kids weapons or S-vests, like that is a real scenario. That's a life and death situation for the team or the hostages. So I was like, yeah, we can do that. But then as I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not going to sell those to the public. I just probably won't. The public doesn't need that. Very specific organizations looking for a very specific training who have really good proctors, really good cadre to help like facilitate that, like where it's done responsibly. Like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But the public, yeah, probably not. It's just people don't know how to utilize something like that in most cases. And so there's that nuance sometimes where there is a product that the military gets or law enforcement gets where, yeah, technically you could sell it to the public legally. Like technically there's no problem with selling it to the public, but because of PR, optics, what kinds of people can get it, it may just not make the most sense to sell it to the public. And so that's one of those products where I'm like, probably not going to sell that one to the public. They can have everything else. They can have all the military-aged males. They can have the females. They can have the S-vests. They can have all this stuff. They just probably can't have the targets that show kids as hostages or even combatants.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's a fair, just hearing about it, I think that's probably a fair assessment. Because I think the sentiment of whatever the government should have, civilians should have, is, the whole point of the Second Amendment is to not be outgunned by the government. So in that context, we're not at a disadvantage because we don't have those targets.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the nuance people don't understand. Exactly. So you could see the nuance of like, no, I can still own the same equipment, armament, and I might be able to train the same way, although it's very difficult without a lot of money. Um,
Right.
yeah, no one's being held back by not being able to buy these targets.
Right.
So,
Right. And you
yeah.
don't have like the Second Amendment doesn't cover targets. Maybe I don't know. There's probably something there too.
It would be a lot of mental gymnastics to some extent to say all training methodologies are covered. I mean, logically, you could probably say that, but yeah, it
Yeah.
starts to get really mental gymnasticsy. Yeah.
Yeah. So when are you going to come out and design a product specific to surviving riots out west?
So, step number one, don't go.
Don't go.
So, yeah, don't go. You don't really need a lot
I
of
say that
gear
tongue
for
in
that.
cheek a little bit.
No.
I say that tongue in
Yeah.
cheek a little bit, but you said specific problems for a specific mission set. What if you live in California?
Oh, geez. Well, you need a rifle and a lot of ammo.
That's right.
So yeah, obviously basic armament is that's like step one. For stuff like that, step two is a lot of people think it's a gear thing, like, oh, gas masks and all this stuff, and yeah, that's good to have, but step two is really planning and
Situational awareness.
Using your brain, like not driving through the mob, going around, doing a detour, checking the news, checking the police Facebook even, like, and the thing is, that's not the fun stuff people want to hear. They want to hear exactly what kit they need to survive a zombie horde of rioters, and if that happens, you can gun it with your car or with a gun potentially, but you being there in the first place is you're being dumb, unless you're there protecting a business. We saw this in 2020. You're there trying to protect your business or a friend's business, and you're on the defense, and that's when things get a little different, because you may have the rules of engagement on your side, and you may have the legality on your side, as well as morality as well, to actually fight back. And so in that situation, yeah, you need a team, you need a group, you need comms, medical, a lot of water, and your weapons. But for most people, just stay away from the stuff.
Stay away. Yep.
Unless you're one of the protesters, I guess, and then yeah, get in there and have fun. As long as both teams have fun. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, just stay away.
Yeah. None of this is actually, legal advice. Contact read your own state laws and do the thing.
Yeah.
Contact your lawyers. Cool, man. So, is there anything else that you wanted to, unveil? I don't want to press too hard. I know that there's some stuff that you probably can't talk about. But other than that, I've got some other questions here that could lead to maybe some harder answers.
Yeah. So what's funny is my business philosophy is, and it remains unchanged, is I believe that with the right team, you can take your entire operational playbook, give it to a competitor, and the competitor still can't do it as well as you can, because of the team that you have. So I love sharing what we're doing in detail. In fact, that was something that I wanted to do a lot more of at TREX in years prior, and I was unable to for many reasons, business partners and more people involved. But now that I can be a 100% owner, I can share whatever I want that I think needs to be shared with people, that I think will help people. And so it's actually my intent as we move forward, and I'm posting on my YouTube channel, that we will share the process of getting buildings, hiring staff, interview, some stuff I've learned from interviewing people, just a lot of different things that I think people need to see behind the curtain on. Because one of the things that frustrates me the most with the whole like entrepreneur bro like industry is there's all this talk about like performance, but people never get to see like the dirty, like the gritty actual work being done. It's why I don't watch a whole lot of entrepreneur bros, because I want to see them at their job, or see them at their work, or see them talk about a work thing. Usually you see them on podcasts. And so I want to actually show that as much as I can. And even filming like vlog style or whatever, like when we get our first shipment of product and we're quality controlling it, and if there's a problem, we'll talk about what the problem is and what we're going to do to fix it. Because I believe that a lot more people can start a small business than they realize. This life is not for everyone. Like I will say that it's a life of there's high risk. It may fail. Your first one may fail. I was fortunate enough that my first one didn't. But you may fail. You're not going to do anything else but this. But it's very purposeful and it's very rewarding, and it can get you things in the future that other people don't have, whether it's money, time, connections, privileges, opportunities, whatever it is. And I think a lot more people can start a small business than they realize. And a lot of people have this sort of there's this barrier. They think it's either I work a job, make 60 grand a year, or I become an entrepreneur and make millions. And the reality is that's actually not usually how it works. Most small businesses are somewhere in the middle, where it's like you're making $500,000 gross, and then maybe you're taking home 100 grand, maybe if you're good at your job. But there's a lot of businesses in that like sub 1 million mark where they've got a couple employees. It's a service job. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, service jobs are super awesome, and you are able to be the master of your own schedule, even doing that. And I think a lot of people can be doing that, and there's a lot of sort of mystery behind the whole entrepreneur like grind set crap that I'm hoping to unveil some of and be like, no, actually it's not like this crazy thing. Like, a lot of people can do this. So that's one of my hopes moving forward, is I could show people that and show them how they can start their own business. It's also never been easier, in my opinion, with the internet, the decentralization of the internet, the ability to get a Shopify store that has like a 20% increased click-through rate compared to other systems. Almost anyone can start a business, even with just a few $1,000s. It's a lot of work. You may have to do it on your off hours from your day job from 5 to 9 before you go to bed. But a lot of people can do a little bit, even if it's going to Goodwill and scalping all the Arc'teryx jackets and putting them on eBay. You can make a lot of money doing that, actually. So yeah, so I'm hoping to share some of that, because I'd like to see more small businesses here in the country, and I'd like to see more people learn that process and be in a healthier situation financially. Maybe not healthier mentally. It's not actually very healthy mentally.
Well, that goes back to having the right people in your life. Balance. Yep. Balance is good. Being involved in a local church community is good, and all those things that definitely keep you accountable to your wife, your family, your kids, all of those things. So, okay. Elephant in the room. We've got about 15, 20 minutes left. I don't want to just completely avoid the elephant in the room, but I wanted the predominant content of this episode to be about what you're building in the future. So here at the end, I would just ask I guess the first question I would ask, and for those that don't know, you dropped a video I think maybe a week ago. Is it a week ago about now? Where you it was like 20 minutes long, and you went through the whole history of TREX and all the things that happened. If you want to watch that, go watch Lucas's video. We're not going to talk about the details here. I'm more interested in these next questions. So, do you regret making that video and posting it?
No.
Or do you think you ever will?
No.
No?
I don't think so.
Something that needed to happen?
It needed to happen. I wished it didn't have to. I will say that. There were years that I waited years. I mentioned in that video that I went on Tucker Carlson's show, and he asked me a lot of questions about family. This is all like family stuff, but I had a very hard time answering them as nicely as I did. Because of what had been happening and what was going on to me and my wife, and she was in the studio with me, like sitting across from me. And so I don't want to say held my tongue, but like I tried to keep everything very private in the shadows for years. And some of it, not all, it needed to come out just based on it being business and very forward-facing. Me being a very forward-facing person, some things the business had just said in their video. There were a lot of people misconstruing that my wife was cheating on me, some things like that. And the truth has to come out at some point, often in many cases. Not every case, and not the full truth of every detail, every gory detail, but I will say this. I filmed that video twice. The first one was an hour and 20 minutes long. It was also a lot more emotional, and there was a lot more detail. And I watched it. My marketing director watched it. My wife watched it. And I felt weird after doing that one. Like, I think that was too much. Like, I think I shared a lot more than I needed to. And we watched it and talked about it. And we all agreed. Like, it was too much. So then we went back to the drawing board, took a lot of things out, adjusted things a lot to make it the minimum. Because it could be hours, to be honest. It could be a 2-hour video, but it can be 20 minutes. It was like 25 or 26, whatever it was. My wife and I prayed about it a lot. I actually prayed literally right before filming it. It was something that was very important to me, and I texted a few people like, hey, I'm about to film this. Please pray for me. So there were a lot of people praying for it and that I was talking to. I had a call with a guy. I'm just going to say his name, Zach, super helpful guy. I called him on Wednesday night, so I dropped a video on Saturday, filmed it Friday. Wednesday, I called him and ended up weeping on the phone with him for about 45 minutes, praying about it, talking about what had just happened and everything. There had been some emails I'd gotten that day that were very hard to read. So there was a lot. Nothing was rushed. Nothing was it was knee-jerk. It was very carefully thought through and calculated and wept over, to be honest. I mean, I've been torn up for 2 weeks dreading that video. And my plan was to publish a video in 2 months, like way later. That would be a little different. But due to some of the assumptions being made, some of the accusations being made, it had to go out sooner. So, and what I will say is, it's kind of sad, but I guess cool at the same time. I've seen thousands of comments from people who have been in a similar situation who've told me that they have been encouraged and inspired seeing how I handled the situation. And because family stuff, everyone's got family drama of some sort, and worse than I have, and worse than probably you have. I've known a family issue. I mean, there's obviously like physical abuse and all kinds of problems, and but you don't usually see people publicly talk about it because it's hard to talk about. And there's a lot of people, I had emails from people who were keeping it all like to themselves and didn't want to talk about it or deal with it, who when they saw the video were like, well, shoot, I need to actually do something, about this thing that I feel, or I need to stand up for myself or my wife. And so I already know that video has done a lot for a lot of people, as hard as it was to film. And I do hope that that video goes on to inspire and encourage a lot of people who are in a similar situation, or helping prevent a situation from happening in the future. I mean, that would be the goal, is that we never have stuff like that ever. So a lot of thought went into it, and the feedback has been pretty. If you look at the comments, some of the issues I brought up are very common, unfortunately, within a lot of people's lives, which is sad.
Yeah. Answer this next one just as much as you're willing to. There's no pressure here, man. Mm-hmm. So, what are some of the things that you've done wrong in those situations that you could own up to that would help reconciliation happen with your brothers?
We've all been there. You've been inspired by a new creative idea, but you've got 3 videos in the queue that need to be edited by the deadline. Or deciding to hire a full-time editor can feel like throwing money at the wall after salaries, benefits, and equipment. It could leave you frustrated and be a burden on your content schedule when editing stacks up. We want to help you bridge the gap. It's really simple. Log into your dashboard, sync cloud drives, and send us your raw files. And we'll do the rest. Worried about the final cut? With our 2 unlimited plans, you don't have to worry about revisions. We'll do it until it's right. We keep you in the driver's seat as content creation depicts the creator. Log into your project management dashboard via Notion for direct, instant communication and watch your project reach each phase of editing until completion. You create, and we just do the work. Vindicated Productions. removing the burden from content creation.
The main one, there are really two things, and one of them's really tough, and I probably won't get into it a whole lot. I have been very contentious in the past. Even when I was before TREX, like with my younger brother and stuff, I was a bully and stuff, and it was my contentiousness that I believe really brought me before God. When I was 16, I was just very convicted at how I was treating other people, and I started like weeping about it and dealing with it and going to the scriptures about it, and then at some point in that couple month period where I was going through that weight got lifted off of me. Not all of it, because I was still contentious after, still sinning, but then I started treating people very differently. And my dad said, "Hey, from what we see, it does seem like you've been saved, like you're different now." Got baptized. It was in November. The water was freezing in the creek here in Tennessee, and but I've still struggled with that, obviously. I mean, just because you get saved doesn't mean everything's gone. You got remnants of the sin of the flesh. And so I would be contentious with them. I would argue. It was very argumentative on things. And not always for the wrong thing. It was just how I was doing it. A business decision that was being done, and I would just come in like a wrecking ball and be like, "No, that's dumb," or "No, you're like whatever." So that was a big one, and we actually got into that a lot when we brought in executive coaches from Table Group, a faith-based consultant group. They for a few offsites, they would call me out on the spot in front of everyone, like, "Hey, Lucas, you're doing the thing again. Like, you're not respecting his feelings. You're not respecting this thing over here." And that was super helpful to have them in the room as mediators, like, "Don't do that, you don't do that, you don't do that," and then pointing out why it was wrong. That was a big one. One of the other ones that really surrounded a lot of the discussion was credit. People not giving credit to where credit's due. And it went both ways. It was not just them to me or me to them. A lot of our issues surrounded that. And I actually think that's an issue that surrounds a lot of businesses. I mean, a lot of the reason people work a job is for purpose and meaning. It's not for money. And if you're not told somewhat regularly, depending on how you're wired or whatever, that you're doing a good job or that you're appreciated, that just starts to become very difficult working that job. And that was something that I was dealing with for many years. And there were some comments made that reinforced why I wasn't being told that. And so I didn't reciprocate. As if I'm not being told, that I'm doing a great job, why should I tell other people they're doing a great job in this circumstance? And I don't know if that was right. It probably wasn't right of me. But that was an issue that came up often in our reports that we did of not sharing credit among the team and the group. And I think that stems from pride. Pride is like at the forefront of like all sin, practically, is really where it goes back to. And I think that's something that could be reconciled in the future. I actually think what is going to be really good that I have a lot of hope for is we were unable to do business together very well, in my opinion. I think once we have some distance and they have their property, they have their territory, and I've got my property, my territory, and it's separate, we may, and I hope we'll be able to get together and deal with some of these things. But working together, it was just too much. I don't think most families, from what I've seen so far in my emails, in my inbox, most families don't know how to work together, let alone just live life together once they all get married and stuff. So we had a lot of challenges dumped on us. I don't think we knew how to handle it. So I'm hoping with some separation, we'll be able to, respect each other's boundaries, our property, our missions, our stuff, and be able to meet in a few years, probably. That's my hope.
Yeah, I hope that for you guys too, for sure. If you hopped on a phone call with your brothers today, what would it take for them to what would it take from them for reconciliation to happen?
It would need to start with some reconciliation with my wife. Not even so much me. I've gotten some apologies over the years from them for things. and I've apologized for some things, it would need to start with her. And actually, most things are going to have to start with her. From my entire family, not just my brothers, but like everyone. And once that happens, or if that can happen, because we're one flesh, like we're a unit. We're not, it's not, and our coaches even brought this up in a few settings where they would apologize to me for a thing, and the coaches would say, hey, you also need to apologize to his wife because, like, they're one, and this was an issue actually to her, not as much just to Lucas. So as soon as we can be viewed as one, and that we are one flesh, we are united as a couple, then absolutely. But there definitely, some things definitely need to be said to my wife for sure. Going back 5 years when we really first met and started to come into she came into the family. And if that can happen, then yeah, I mean, because I can overlook a lot of this stuff towards me. It's just very difficult for me being the husband to overlook things towards my wife. And I think that's justified, reasonable, biblical, all that good stuff. My wife is the person she's my family. I have got to protect her at all costs to the point of giving up my life for her. So if she can be respected equally to me, then we can have a conversation and move on with life. But I think that's what it's going to take.
Well, thank you for being transparent with me, man. Mm-hmm. I know that's probably tough to do, but I definitely wanted this to be more about reconciliation, and I know I'm just some guy you met, but I'm really hoping that you guys can bury the hatchet in the future, because I think you guys did great stuff at TREX Arms. I know that I've benefited a lot. The most, actually, it's kind of funny. The product that I've benefited from the most are your targets.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, that's super cool.
that warm-up target that you've had for all those years.
For forever.
Yeah, I've done hundreds and hundreds of those.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I know it's as simple as that, but just a piece of paper with circles on it, and some instructions. But yeah, just your content. I've enjoyed a lot of the videos over there on T-Rex's channel and stuff like that. So when I saw that, everything was going down, I wanted to be a force for good, as little influence as I have.
No, I appreciate you caring. And
I really do.
And I hope that, and I've had a lot of great emails from people, saying that, it's not just I'm on this side or I'm on this side, but they really do care. And I appreciate that, because this goes way beyond money and business. I mean, forget the money, forget the business. It goes way beyond that. So I do appreciate you caring. I don't what's the word? It's like self-deprecation, or don't minimize yourself in the situation. You caring means a lot to me, and I hope it means a lot to them, to be bringing this up. So.
Yeah, because I've interviewed Isaac at Fight Laugh Feast, and he was awesome. It was such a fun interview. Great guy. And I know despite your relational, we'll call it relational troubles right now, I do pray that you'll bury the hatchet, you'll reconcile in the future. Things will work out in the end, by the grace of God. And I'm still gonna buy from TREX Arms.
Yeah.
I think a lot. I mean, my personal opinion, transparently, I think a lot of people should. I still think what you guys created over there, the products are awesome, and stuff like that. But I also think we get into these camps where we're like, oh, we've got to pick the pitchfork, right? We got to, whose team are we on? And I think that what you guys created, you founded. They helped grow with you, is good. And then I also think that we can encourage you and support you in your next endeavors. And I think that that's healthy. And I think, I think that that's the way it should go.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. Thank you for answering those questions. A little bit more personal, but, and then I also thank you for coming on, man. It's awesome to get to know you a little bit. And I hope this isn't the last time we get to connect.
I'm sure we will connect at some point. I appreciate you having me on as well and giving me the opportunity to share. So thank you.
Final words? Anything else?
Yeah, my final words for husbands or boyfriends even. As soon as you get married, or you're planning on getting married, that woman should become your mission. And my wife was not my mission the first year of me being married. And I made a lot of mistakes, and I worked to fix some of those, and by the grace of God was able to correct many of them. And so I've learned a lot the past few years of making her the mission in daily life, and I think a lot of men out there need to think about doing that, and then be prepared to make very difficult choices for her and the family. And I can't say that loudly enough, that men need to stand on business, be prepared to literally die for their wife. And unfortunately today, I think a lot of men would not do that who are married, and it's disappointing. So I hope that men hear this and go, yep, I need to double down, triple down, quadruple down on my efforts for my wife, and not be a passive husband who just plays video games in the evening and doesn't care about her. So, yeah. And I say that being I'm an avid gamer. I'm not saying gaming's bad. I played for a while yesterday, but and she was gaming too. But I also will do pretty much anything for her. So
yeah. What game were you playing?
I've been playing the new Dune Awakening.
Okay.
It's the open world. You build a base. It's very grindy. I'm just trying to get the ornithopter. It's all I want. I just want to fly around, and then I'll probably stop playing.
I have no idea. I have no idea what any of that is. I play. So at Christmas, my brother and I, we hop on because he doesn't live near me, and we play Fortnite.
Nice. Yeah. I never got into Fortnite, but that's
what we play.
It's been popular. It's a big game.
The reason why we play it is because, I mean, it's fun, but then it's not super gruesome because we've got little kids running around.
Yeah.
And we can play it open, and we don't have to, we don't have to like
something.
Yeah, it's not like Call of Duty where you've got blood and everything going everywhere. So just wait till you have kids. A lot of things change.
I know. I'll change a bit.
Yeah. My wife is actually due next month with
cool.
our
Congrats.
third.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, we are busy.
Awesome. Absolutely. Yeah. No, that sounds great.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Lucas. I really appreciate it. You have is your YouTube channel just Lucas Botkins now?
Yep. Yeah, it's just Lucas Botkin.
Okay. And then you got your X
pop
account?
up. Yeah. X also Lucas Botkin. You search my name, stuff. A lot of stuff comes up. A lot of Reddits too. So yeah, I'm all throughout the internet at this point. So.
Yeah. There's no such thing as bad publicity, right? Maybe.
That's a whole other topic. I have a lot of opinions, but 90% of the time that is correct.
Maybe you'll come back on and we'll talk more about it in the future.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, with that, guys, don't forget, if you're going to watch well. We'll see you then.